The human element topic features Rex Puspras, Navdeep Agarwal, and Anand Srivastav. Moderating this critical conversation is Divakar Bhargava. Let's give a huge round of applause to our panelist and moderator.
Very good afternoon, everyone. I haven't heard a response. I know it's a heavy lunch. We got a sumptuous lunch. I got the feedback. It's very tasty. So please tell me if you didn't like it. I hope that's not the case. Then very good afternoon. Thank you so much. With the raise of your hand, help me understand how many in the room are blue teamers and red teamers. First blue team. I'm blue team. Isliye. Only two blue teamers. Okay. Offensive security, red teamers. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, there are more people coming into the room after a quick break, but I hope you got the topic. So we are potentially looking at the offensive side and specifically the human element, the social engineering into the drill. So we wanted to get the best out of this, and I have the best people over here. So Anand, Navdeep, and Rex are entangled with dealing with a lot of offensive security practices day in, day out, both on the consulting engagement side, the business world, and with the large corporates. So I'll try to get the best out of that, right? So let's get started with that. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for being here on a Sunday afternoon after a heavy lunch. Yeah, and not sleeping. So first of all, I would love to understand, without making it too scripty, what really is happening in the offensive side of the world, how social engineering has been leveraged in various arenas, whether it be on the business side, corporates and consulting side. I think we have professionals from all three backgrounds. Let's hear from them, and then we'll get into the double click on specific areas and try to learn what are the latest techniques, what are some of the nuances that have been in practice. That's something that is really working very well. There are age-old practices. Social engineering is age-old, if you know. It's at least 2-3 decades old, nothing new. But the tactics have been changed over a period of time. The adversaries are getting smarter. So let's delve into those and understand those. Yeah, we'll start with Rex. Please help us understand what's happening latest in the world of social engineering.
So thank you, Devakar, on that. So social engineering, nobody need introduction here, right? So the interesting factors, there are, maybe I can put something recently we have worked on also, right? So there is a supply chain company, okay? So they need to send the consignment to South Africa, but they ended up sending it to US. Okay.
Big goof up.
Not only the package, also they send the materials behind that, and how the people who take over the entire process is very interesting. Okay, so usually how they handle with the heavy softwares behind that, they have a SaaS, they have a production people tracking into that, everything. How the channels of 4 layers has been taken over, how the approvals has been initiated is matters more.
So adversaries were successful in routing to US.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Go ahead.
Now I make a booking. Okay. So that has to be given to you. You are a supply chain company and you are taken my order and you made the consignment and shipped it. Okay. But you shipped in a wrong fleet.
Got you.
So where are the areas the approvals are making in it? How they made it is they take accounts in active, which is a compromised, okay, but they make it active the moment of approval and then they go off. They are not doing any continuous movement. Nothing has happened, but you can question that how the behavioral pattern can be monitored.
Now, just a curious question. Was it attacker having access to the applications of the systems? Did they meddle with that, or how exactly that happened?
3 things. When they got first access with the user, they got access of the server. All the areas they play. Whenever there is an anomaly hitting in, there is a guy sitting in there, they're making it neutralize. So now you are officially the red team, okay, and you are the official blue team, and you are the approver manager. So all the 3 area, but they are not touching any other thing. Only one particular consignment, which is very targeted attack. Okay. So in that way they have taken in. This is one. And second, on the peripheral devices we are using, on the let's take CCT. So most of the companies are taking it very least, and also the Wi-Fi. If you go outside the compound of any company, you can get their Wi-Fi. But it's supposed not be like that. This advisory is what they have done. They sit outside, they get access to the camera. Okay, so it's happened in Singapore. Okay, they lost $1 million. Their team, how they place their camera is that they can able to see the keystroke. They have been observing it for more than a month. After the investigation has been identified, more than a month they observing it, and also they know who received the OTPs also. So when I receive a OTP, I take the mobile and look it, the moment is enough for me because I have a blind side view. So that's how they have gone into that. It's not only the social engineering is taking into the very targeted people, also it's targeting your infrastructure. If you know infrastructure well, now it is more driven into people and the infrastructure. They're connecting the both nowadays. So that's the recent things which is happening.
Thank you, Rex. Thanks for sharing that. Now, how is this working in the healthcare industry?
Well, healthcare industry is of course not untouched by these kind of challenges. And one of the biggest challenges with healthcare industry is that our main focus was and is always about the patient health, right? So the entire energy, resources, mindset, everything is focused towards that we have to save this patient. Now that is a very stressful time for the patient, their family, and the staff as well, right? Even though it's a profession for the staff, but they are extremely focused and without worrying about anything else, their only job is to save the patient. Now that's the time where everybody in that ecosystem is very vulnerable, extremely vulnerable. And nobody would question anybody if somebody is asking any kind of an information. Now just assume of a situation wherein you are accompanying your friend or somebody in the family and you are going in a hospital to admit a patient and somebody will ask you some 10 questions. Without any hesitance, you are willfully willing to provide all kinds of information to them. You will not even, so they will say, okay, give me your Aadhaar number and you will get an OTP for a confirmation. We are making a registration of yours in our system. You will not validate what exactly that OTP is. You have the Aadhaar number and the OTP can come from anywhere in the world. Right? So this is how, there are moments when either you are in a trouble or your greed, these kind of things wherein you fall for the trap. So healthcare is, usually there has been a sense of little urgency and more consciousness towards a financial transaction. But are we giving this much of a focus towards doing a health transaction somewhere? In a hospital, have we ever asked a doctor or the reception, somebody at the reception, why do you need my Aadhaar card if I am only coming for an OPD? I simply have to consult a doctor, get the medicines and go away. But at those times, we do not ask it. You go for a MRI scan, X-ray scan, any kind of those diagnostics things. Why do you need my Aadhaar card or a PAN card or phone number or anything of that sort? For various reasons, just to facilitate, right? They will say, we need your email address and phone number so that we can send you the reports via WhatsApp. You would not need to come. But if I am ready to come, then why should I give these details? Their tools itself are not built for that. They will say, then we will not be able to take up your request. So this is where the entire social engineering things will come in play. And for various reasons, they will say, okay, the system demands us to have a mobile phone number or your email address. And that's where they start building out their database. And then they will send out the phishing messages. Think of that you are expecting a diagnostic report from some lab and they have already told you that you will get something on the WhatsApp. Now on WhatsApp, with certain unknown number, you will say XYZ diagnostic report is there with you. This is your name. You will immediately click on that and boom, you're gone. Your device is already compromised. So even without knowing that you are falling for a prey, we have willfully shared our information. So that's why healthcare industry is becoming extremely important. This entire domain is very important for us. And because we are most vulnerable at the times when we are addressing these kind of concerns, it is hard for us to be very conscious, but it will pay us a lot if we become little more conscious while sharing this information. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Navdeep. Anant, I'm as curious as some of the people in this room. Like I said, I'm a blue team guy. built multiple cyber defense centers. But I would love to understand something that hasn't been exploited in the wild. I know you are a hacker, you're a developer, you break things, you build things. So help us something, educate us something with something that hasn't been out in the wild, something that is being in the making, right? We would love to get double click from you on those.
The offensive side? All right. So point number one, before we get into all the discussions, phishing, social engineering, this is a problem because technology is not able to solve this piece. We collectively as a technologists have failed in solving this social engineering problem. But leaving that aside, there are problems and there are scenarios which get exploited. What is happening now is the technology is moving at a faster pace and we are getting features every single day. Yesterday, your mobile app, which you were using to send UPI, had one feature. Today, there is an update and now you have flight booking inside it. Next day, there'll be an update and you'll have insurance inside it. So you start getting those super apps created. When you receive a courier, when you receive an Amazon, I think Amazon, Flipkart, everyone has been ordering. You receive the courier and they ask you to just sign and put your phone number in there. We do that. How many of you actually put your original numbers? Or let me rephrase. How many of you did not put your actual numbers?
Never give out.
So one of my numbers has 4 as the last digit. A friend of mine has the number which has 5 as the ending digit. We always give each other's numbers. So the information which is not required is what we freely provide. And that's what everyone banks on, that you will provide information from your side itself. And this was a personal example. From a corporate world example, one phishing social engineering scenario that I've been using a lot. I am a fresh employee of the company. I have a social media account and I'm contacting an old person from the company. Hey, this is my first day. I forgot how to log in. What are the default credentials? And most of the time, the default passwords for new people is same. It's either welcome or a variation of welcome of that country at 123 or 1234. That's kind of how corporates would set up the default
That's
accounts.
a decades-old practice that won't change.
Yep. So those things are there. The maturity that is coming in from the attacker side is they're adapting to the newer systems faster.
Absolutely.
The social media came up, the Instagrams came up. Now they're creating Instagram profiles. With AI in the picture, now they're writing better responses, better initial messages. The whole approach that we took from the defensive side is if there are spelling mistakes, if the URL is wrong, if there are errors in the structure, that's a phishing message. That's all gone. They give a sample of the original message body and ask it to change things. And you get that whole changed up message. So the approach that we gave to people, like one of the approach that very recently started coming up was the icons would be shown to you when it's an authorized email. And similarly, the SMSs would come up. And this is an India specific feature. No other country has that. If an SMS is coming in and it's actually from an organization, it'll come up not with a 10-digit number, but with a alphanumeric message. We all know?
That can be validated over the internet.
Yeah. Now, if I am able to compromise a server which belongs to, say, some random school somewhere, they have a template. The template is dear blank, comma, some text, thanks. This is a template that they have to provide to the authorities that this is how we are going to send messages. So the message gets in between and the template is there. That's a very generic template. Now I can send you a message which will appear from a alphanumeric number. It's not a 8-digit number or 10-digit number. You now have to be aware enough to know that ABCDE is not SBI Bank. That's kind of the problem that we are facing now. And that's where most of the development is happening in terms of how people are being more creative. I hope that answers the question.
Absolutely,
I
absolutely.
just
Thank you
want
so
to
much.
add another thing here, and this is just my personal observation. This also stems a lot from the culture that we are coming from, right? If you look into data which says how much of the phishing attempts are successful in India compared to any other region, so here we have a tendency of trusting people more compared to people from other regions or other countries, and here we find it as a good
Ironically,
manner.
we trust our people more on the data than our money.
Actually, correct. It's actually easy to get all the personal information from a photostat guy, right? So it would not be very hard. So that's also one of the reasons, and that's why it is becoming even hard for us to change ourselves, because it really requires a fundamental change at the grassroots level of our thinking, that even though we trust it, saying no doesn't mean that we don't trust the other person. It's simply that we are respecting our privacy equally, and as much as we are trusting it, we want to verify that you are really requiring this thing or not.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for adding that, Navdeep. That actually reminds me of a situation where I work with people from different region. I can strike a conversation with an American and actually get good and decent information. Where does he work? How his day looks like? What is he eating? Where is he going? Etc. But if you talk to a European, any organization or any independent or individual working in the European organization or a European citizen, you don't get that. They don't look at you and they don't smile at you. So culture definitely plays a vital role. That says, I have a next question for you, Rex. I'm sure you're about to share something, but this is very important. There is a nuance that there are some teams which are very much vulnerable. They are treated as a low-hanging fruits. You know what those are. HR, finance are the scapegoats in an organization. They receive an email, they click on it, and they fall for it. So, is it a popular nuance? Is it a popular belief that these are easily hackable teams over other teams, or is there a reason they are specifically targeted? Finance, I understand they deal with numbers. You can milk some numbers, but why HR?
Okay, so that's very interesting. That's also connected with the trust and also our culture. Okay, so there is, if you look at in our area, and particularly in India, so they have a tendency that why should I fear to share? I'm not doing anything wrong, so why should I fear to share it? So that tendency is still with us. I don't say that's a wrong thing, but you are using that in a wrong places. That's a problem. So why HR, right? So HR is the very first area to understand the culture of the company. Okay. So, and also he is very available. I can find him in the LinkedIn. I can, easy to approach. Okay. I can, the introduction
you can
is,
build
I
an
already know.
database of HR personnel just by social engineering.
Yeah, it's very easy. See, I can tell you that I can bombard it with the messages with you that asking for, hey, I need internship. I'm doing the so and so. And there is a recent trend. Most of the people have started asking for, I done in GitHub, my project is here. That's an awesome thing. Think about it. I'm a very curious HR who is have a very good requirement for my DevSecOps. And I'm reaching out to you and asking for, I have done so and so, and this is my GitHub project. Just get a look at it. So that makes sense, right?
I definitely want to add to what Rex said, and this is coming from my own experience, because I managed the security for HR function for a very long time. I've worked with HRs for almost 12 to 15 years. Okay, HRs are considered to be low-hanging fruit for various reasons, right? In any organization, which is, let's say, product-based company, they would always say that my X product is, earning me this much of money, so I'll put more controls. We should be having secure product and all that stuff. Nobody realizes that HR is one such department in every organization which actually holds both the PHI as well as the PII data. It has your financial information of every single employee, including your CEO. And also in cases when the organization is having in-house medical doctors, they also owns and host this medical information of all their employees. Then if a product which is earning some money for the company is spending money to safeguard that product, why are they not spending upon a department called HR when they are actually holding all the crown and jewels? Almost everything, right? Whatever we are trying to protect, that subset of information in a product, that HR department has that same critical information of every single employee, not just the current, but even the past employees as well, and all the possible hires. Why are we not protecting it? So the reason is purely, it is driven from the money part. This is a corporate function. It
Got
is
you.
only supporting our internal employees. They are not considering the classification or the sensitivity of the data which they are playing with. That's number one. The second challenge is the training and the awareness of that department. They usually, the hires of that department are very good in their own skills, but they are considered to be less tech savvy. And as Anand mentioned, technologists, we as all of us technologists have failed to protect ourselves from these issues. Now think of a phishing attack. In any of the awareness session you go, you always say, look, if it is there is something fishy, why and how can you do that? There should be a banner on your email that this email is coming from an external email address. Now this kind of a protection or a detective control would be relevant for a developer, wherein the developer is not expected to receive much of an emails from outside the organization. But for HR, the role itself demands you to expect emails from the outside of the organization. Now, what I mean, if in a day you are getting 200 emails, are you actually going to flag 150 of them and not really working on them? No, you can't do that. The role demands them to be available on LinkedIn, on WhatsApp, especially with the new hires, seniority wise, executives also, right? They want, I mean, we want to give them a seamless experience, and that seamless experience comes with a cost. And
Absolutely.
again, like Rex said, the suppliers. So, I mean, these are, I think, three major reasons why HRs are considered to be the low-hanging fruits, because we are also not investing them. We are not realizing the value of the data that they are protecting.
I had a few points to add.
Before we go for that, I have a question for the audience. Should we?
Yeah.
Let's check if they are awake. All right. I'm sure most of you have gone through the OSI layers. What are those? Application, presentation, session, transport, network, data link, physical. There is 8th layer. What is it? Human. Okay. So human is termed as a 8th layer, and that's the most weakest link in the entire chain. That's what they term. But Anand, I wanted to obtain this from you. What could be one or two ways or known ways that you have tried to make the human element the strongest when it comes to social engineering? I think there are no physical or technological controls that could actually stop something from happening. I mean, you can call anyone and actually ask. I mean, you can tell them that you're the CEO of an organization and you can ask them to make a transfer. Such things happen. We all receive emails from Nairobi Prince and we respond to such emails, right? So there is no technical control over there. You can't filter out every email that comes to your mailbox and possibly do anything. In such cases, how do you work on the awareness? How do you bring up to a point where somebody looks at something and understand this can't be true? Yeah.
So before I go there, point number one, there is one more area or one more set of people that we did not talk about. And that's the PAs or assistants to the executive layer. That's where you not only have data, you also have access to the CXO layer banking details, power to actually do transactions, conversations, and all of it. The other thing which Navdeep actually pointed very briefly, the reason HR, finance, or these people are targeted is very simple. These are some of the functions which are expected to receive external input. You don't have to fake anything. It can be an external domain sending them, and they're supposed to receive it. A finance person is supposed to receive an Excel sheet from a partner and they're supposed to open it and check what is inside it. The HR is supposed to open the PDF document because the resume is inside it, or a docx where the resume is. So they're supposed to do that. That's part of their actual general purpose operations. Now, what you talked about, how technology can actually help us in strengthening this layer. I'm going to give a couple of examples. See, I've not implemented this myself, but I've audited a lot of firms in terms of doing red team activities or pen testing activities, and I've seen some, say, best practices in there. So in one of the organization, what they had was a behavioral pattern check. And effectively what they had was, since it was a highly sensitive environment, if an HR is opening PowerShell, that's not the default behavior. So your account is going to get locked. You need to call us and we will then open it after checking what went wrong. If the HR is supposed to look at, and this is based on their months of profiling of the normal behavior of users, if the HR was supposed to use Excel, PowerPoint, and Word and they somehow opened, say, OneDrive, that's an anomaly. So anomaly detection could help people to identify, okay, something is going wrong. The second area is around external access. So I don't know if anyone here does this. So just a quick check. Most of you would have some sort of a firewall on your systems which blocks incoming connections. How many of you have any sort of firewall which prevents outgoing connections? Or do you have any idea how many connections are outgoing? So there are firewalls. In Linux world, you have OpenSnitch. In Mac world, you have Little Snitch. I have no idea what's there in Windows. I have not used Windows for a very long time. But I am assuming there is something of that sorts in Windows.
Are you scaring that if somebody is using Windows right now, they are gone?
No, I'm not saying that. I have a friend who has been using Windows for like past 25 years. I think he's using it securely. He has the right ideas of how to do. I have a friend who has recently started using Linux, and I can bet I can get into his system very fast because he's using a system which he's not comfortable with. So knowing what is there can actually raise that suspicion. So right now, if you are not aware that an external connection is being made, you can't make a decision call. But if your system is designed in such a way that it asks, hey, you opened this Word doc, there is a connection being made to hackersparadise.com. Do you want that to go out? And there's a yes or no box. Some of them will click yes. You can't cover 100%. But one of them might actually raise a suspicion, hey, something is wrong. And that's what you need. Just like we say, attacker needs one input. What you got to understand is red teamers are actually playing in defender's playground. One mistake from a red teamer, one notice from a defender can actually prevent the entire attack chain. So that's what the technologists can right now help out in. That's
Got you.
how I would say.
But I think that's a great point you mentioned, and I'll use that as a segue for my next question to Rex. So, Rex, when it comes to red teaming exercises, we have been asked by our clientele organizations to test the robustness, efficiency, resilience of an organization. But how do you draw boundaries? How do you confine to a certain level where the analyst is not actually crossing the boundaries and actually spilling the beans or trying to vertically penetrate or horizontally penetrate and trying to create a havoc? How do you balance that ethical syndrome of a person, a human behavior, in terms of they finding something and actually engaging to the exact engagement that they need to do and obtain the loose hanging fruits or gaps in an environment? How do you balance that?
So to answer that, I would start with what Anand is saying. Right. The very interesting fact is the people who is new to the organization also who are start using new elements. That's where we start anywhere, anytime. And also we try to always understand their infrastructure in a way how the access has been given. Because most of the organization have a role-based access nowadays after their rigorous changes into Office 365 and the Google Workspace, right? They have a role-based access enabled, but they never audit that. And moreover, if they look at their policy, they will say HR will have these. Very defined policy template. They will copy it from somewhere else or they will get it from AI. They run a prompt and get it and they will keep it. This is a common thing which is happening. The moment we see the policy itself, we know where they are leading to. The first thing we will see, let me tell you, when we are trying to do the offensive, we will first go to and check their privacy policy and cookie policy. That's fair enough to understand the organization's enablement of security in their infrastructure. So once that is clear, then we will go into what level of access they have. So we will try to see, okay, HR is there. What about the salesperson? Because HR at least have a certain level of expectations. This is not should come to me. But the sales have no limitations. I can come as a customer. I can come as a vendor. I can come as a friend for anything. I can tell your product is shit to me, man. You sold this to me. And I have no clue who sold this or what is happened to that. I have no data along with that. How do I object to that? How do I handle to that? I have no question. And second, when we start looking at department wise, the low hanging, you said HR, and second, you can consider it to sales. And very important thing, it's easy to target CEOs and all the CXOs compared to these guys. It's very rare to get it done, but it is easy to target them because they are available. And because of the current trend, they should be publicly presentable. So there is no way you can, previously it is, if you want me to look at 5 years or 7 years before to reaching out a CEO or a CXOs, it is very tough because most of the people doesn't even know who is their CFO or who is their CHRO or a CISO. They have no clue, even the internal organization. That is a different story, right? But today I know everyone. So very simply, tomorrow I can send an invite from VULNCON stating to that.
Please don't give any free passes. Okay, it comes at a cost.
Right? So that can be done. It is because it is necessity for all the CXOs to be presentable because it's now their requirement to bring the brand identity. That is required. Right. So what is the current trend is happening that we need to match with the low hanging fruits and also the tough ones. That's we triangling it.
Thanks for sharing that, Rex. Navdeep, since you are a product leader, you are closely working with the application teams, development teams, engineering teams. Is there a way that any anti-social engineering controls could be integrated into the SDLC or into the tools that are used by various teams in an organization?
Well, I would say there is no such silver bullet as of now, which would say that we can protect everything. But some of the best practices like maker checker or role-based access control model has proven to be really effective. And a role-based model or maker checker is actually an outcome of a lot of other processes. It is not the process itself, it is one of the end product, but it requires you to deliberate internally very sincerely. You would need to draw down all the processes you have in system, then categorize them, whether it is an average or low, medium or high severity kind of a category, and then you will start putting up some sort of maker checkers on the critical. For example, you are merging the code. Okay, in that particular way, we will know that yes, there should be multiple folks who are involved into it. But if you are conducting an architecture diagram, right, a threat modeling exercise, let's say, then all your threat models or the architecture diagrams, that kind of information, if you are using some tool like Confluence or something else, again, some role-based access control model should come up so that apart from your team or key people from your team, nobody else, it is purely on the need basis. So having a segregation of duties, least privilege, or everything best practice that we are talking about, these are some really good practices, we can introduce as part of our SDLC. And then another thing, right, which is we have talked a lot about the awareness sessions or training. Those awareness or training sessions cannot be standard for the entire organization. It has to be role specific ones, right? Like we have briefly touched upon, the role which an HR is playing is extremely different from the role a developer or a CXO is playing. So their awareness, the training that they should be getting should be customized for them. And then only I think we will start having lot more productive addressal of those phishing attacks or those kind of things. And another, we should also start rewarding those people who are doing the good work. I think probably in past whatever time I have been working, if I have let's say addressed 90% of the simulations, I have never been rewarded for that. So if you want to build a culture, if you want to encourage a culture, start rewarding it. We have been capturing all these details. Which individual has actually spotted the phishing attack, right? How many times? And we used to send the emails. The person who is a defaulter for 2 times, the senior manager would be reported in 3 times, and the leader will be reported. But what about those who are actually picking it up on the very first time? We are not rewarding them.
And talking of the reward, I had one such quiz I received from a private bank. I got 10 out of 10 and I've shown it to my boss and he said, dude, you're a deputy CISO. If you couldn't do this, I could have fired you by now. So reward has a double-edged sword.
So I have an example of this reward system in operation. Again, not something that I have developed for my organization, but an organization that we were checking and they had this reward system. The reward system, how they have provisioned it was every single valid phishing email that you have reported gets 1 point, and every quarter there's a scoreboard. The top 10 gets rewards. So now the system is inverse. Every single successful submission of yours gives you something. And the rewards were there. There were some cash rewards. There were some goodies. So there was a tangible benefit of reporting something. So now they're not looking at phishing emails as a problem. They're looking at, okay, if I can spot something wrong, I can get some rewards. So now they're eager to find all problematic stuff. There was obviously an over enthusiastic set of people who were reporting every damn thing. Over a period of time, it gets filtered because they realize the effort is far more if they're reporting every single thing. So they start fine-tuning it. It's like if anyone here does bug bounty, after a while you start realizing, okay, this is the bug that I'm not going to report. This is not going to get me rewards. So you fine-tune your approach and you start aiming to do the least amount of work to get the best rewards. And that's kind of what helps in that approach.
Absolutely.
I just want to add one fact here. Reward is absolutely working factor in every organization. And moreover, when targeting people, okay, so because I want to add on to that, the very working formula is touching their ego. Because most of the companies train their employees to look at what not to look or what need to be aware of. But on the sentiment part, we will teach them the urgency, the emergency, if they are asking for money or any other serious elements or above the chart, they are asking for something. They are all aware. Most of the companies majorly done that. But on the ego part, no. So it goes not even into the emergency or urgency, but it will touch your work role. So the moment I talk to an HR in a way that, are you hiring in a better way? That provoke them like anything. On the same way, it goes to the sales team because sales team have a better objection handlings. But HRs do have a better than that. But at the same time, it's coming from the outside the organization, it triggers a lot.
Absolutely.
That's one of the major reasons. And also, if you are in a development area, this is a serious problem. I'm building something and you are cursing it, man. Who the hell are you? I will run behind you.
That's my baby.
Yeah.
Ajo dekh lenge.
That is when this is what. See, what Navdeep also said, what Anand also said is the right thing is that most of the organization not even touch role-based training. No, they are not doing curated. They are just doing for compliance sake. If you are doing for compliance sake, forget about your organization. You will be end up in soup one day. That will be for sure.
Got you. Thanks, Rex. Anand, since you have touch based a bit on phishing, I would want you to educate us a bit more on the pretexting and baiting.
Right. So it boils down to the language that you use. For example, a developer. Okay, let me ask it this way. How many of you are in the first 5 years of your corporate career or below that? You would be contacting people to get references.
I'm restarting my career, please. Don't look at me like that.
Now, when you contact these people, you share your profile, you share your GitHub links, you share your details. It's an expected thing that you will do it. They expect you to share it and they will go in and see what is there. That's the general behavior that is there. So you create that pretext that, hey, I am someone who's looking for a job, and this works doubly for those organizations which actually have rewards for referrals. So the employee gets a referral bonus if they refer you. So now they are on a lookout for good people that they can refer because they have something to earn. So they will take that extra step of not just going there. They may end up cloning that GitHub repository into their own systems And this is something, so a slight segue. I do supply
Anant
chain
is once
related
again
stuff.
proving rewarding is a double-edged sword.
So I do supply chain related stuff. So two of the examples that I show to people is cloning a GitHub repository. Just cloning is enough for me to start execution of code. If I'm not doing that, it's a Visual Studio Code project. Just opening that project and saying, I trust the author is good enough for me to get your AWS credentials, get all the stuff that is crucial for you to function. Your entire home directory, I have full access to it. So pretexting is where you're basically creating a scenario where this email makes sense to the person. And then you create that email in such a way that it is enticing for the person to actually go and click on those links. The other bits about whether the link is valid or invalid or all of that comes secondary. But this piece that you have formulated it in such a way that it is important for the person to actually go there. That's what pretexting
So the
is.
PA believes it is definitely coming from a CEO. There it goes. How about baiting?
Now, baiting is where, like he was talking about, playing with the ego, going in a negative direction, going in the positive direction. You are forcing them to give a reaction. Because what you said either is very, very enticing for them. Let me give you an example. It's a very different example from a personal scenario. How many of you know about honey traps? Tinder profiles or those profiles where you get an invite. I am bad with the Gen Z lingo. It's swipe or something that you do a swipe.
I'm still waiting for a request. I haven't got one.
That might have something to do you being just 2 years experienced person. So you have to gain some experience and then... But you do those swipes, and how many of you have heard about this whole scam that is going on where a person is invited to be on a date in a cafe and the other person then disappears and the person has to pay a bill of about 20,000 or 30,000 because they had one drink which was the premium drink of that cafe costing 30,000. So
there were some cases from Mumbai last year from some of the pubs.
So
read about it.
Effectively, the bait was that there could be a date and there could be a future. But the actual attack was that the whole, the cafe and the other person was involved and they had the whole setup planned that you would not look at the price, which is a general behavior. Whosoever is giving the party does not look at the price. Ideally. So you don't look at the price, and by the time you look at the price, the order is already there. They've drank it half already. So you have to pay. And that's where the whole attack comes in. Take that same context, put it in corporate world, put it in personal environments. You're baiting someone to do things which could lead to gains for them, could lead to a scenario which is beneficial in a longer run. And that's where the whole play starts. Brex, I think you might have good examples that you would have used in your engagement.
Honey trap.
I hope you've not used honey trap.
That's a very successful one. So that's actually a scenario we use, right? When we are working with very high value prime targets, it is very usual. It's very usual because maybe it's uncommon for common people, but it's very usual when you go in a different profile. When we are doing in the engagement, that's one of the scenario which we need to do and must to do to make sure that is not compromised.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Rex. So we, for a post-lunch session, having more than half a room is a blessing. So tell me, you're not going to click on that Tinder dating email you're receiving. Yeah, that does the awareness and half the job that we are trying to do. All right. And in my panels, I would love to crowdsource as many questions as possible. With that, I will turn the mics to audience and let you ask questions. This is about the social engineering role in offensive security. So if there are any questions, please, I'll pass on the mic. Please, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Anand sir was saying, and also Navdeep sir was saying that there are so many phishing attacks going on, right? and Anand sir has mentioned that there is no particular solution to stop it, like stop social engineering, stop phishing. But you might have already heard of there are multiple brand monitoring services which are emerging right now. Like they are trying to take down the phishing domains, stop the social media campaigns and all these things. So being a person from cybersecurity myself, I realized that while doing the reconnaissance, I don't even need tools to identify some of the information which is generally just out there. Be it a GitHub repository where people were trying to create some kind of a login page and they have used their own credentials, like actual credentials. So for most of the time, I don't even need a tool to do that. From an investment purpose, if I ask you, like you all are senior leaders in cybersecurity industry, so would you choose a brand monitoring service over a team which is offering a real life simulation of offensive security? Like, would you rather choose to stop it before it's happening, or because they offer attack surface management as well? So would you rather choose that either you are from an e-commerce or something, so you need to stop phishing from happening itself, or would you like to choose the other team which will do the whole scenario of offensive security?
With panel's information, I'll take that question. You want a good answer or a funny answer?
Honest answer.
Honest answer. Okay, I'll give you honest answer.
Okay.
It totally depends on the cast. So if they're a large enterprise that would love to test its resiliency before it breaks out, they will engage both a red teamer and also brand monitoring. But if you're a startup, I think purchasing a web-based brand monitoring tool is much easier. You wouldn't engage in a red team engagement from a Mandiant that will cost you 10,000K or 100K. My last stint was with a large supply chain logistics transport shipping organization. We engaged one such large vendors to walk into our facility, break into things and show us what are the gaps, and they did that successfully. We also had brand monitoring. Yeah.
Understood. Actually, I know many people might be already having the question, but you said small organization would rather not go for the offensive security kind of a thing. So I had a scenario in my company. I won't take the name of the organization, but they were facing a lot of phishing attacks. And how they were facing it, the attackers were exploiting multiple startup company web pages, and they were exploiting the redirection path of it. Okay. So for like dashboard and anything, they did not have any kind of protection over it. So they were attaching their phishing domain on the redirection path, and then they were sending it to multiple people. So the people of startup companies were not even aware that that is happening with them. And they were not one or two, they were 100 of companies for which it was happening. So how they should approach it, if they're not taking the offensive security services or anything else, how they should approach it? Or
Tough question. The earlier one was easy. I let them take it.
okay.
All right. I'll take the first stab and then the experts can talk.
Sure.
So from a consultant point of view, someone who has worked with the product, someone who has done and offered the red teaming services and the pen testing services, see, the tools have their usage and there are requirements where you need the tools. One, you talked about a human in the loop. Human in the loop is both important and a problem. The human's temperament defines the outcome. And we use this example for n number of places. We use this example for whether I'm going to get my visa or not depends on whether the visa officer jumped out of the bed on the left side or the right side. It's the similar case. If the pen tester who's working on that engagement, if they have the right skill set and they have the expertise into that specific type of attack scenarios, they'll be able to find it. I am not saying that people are incapable. What I'm saying is everyone has their own capabilities and specialities. No company can say, I'm going to give you 100% coverage. If that was the case, red teaming organizations would be offering insurance services. They don't.
By the way, there is called 100% security.
They put a disclaimer. We have done the check on this date at this time in this particular build. Any deviation, we cannot guarantee any security. Now, in terms of whether you need the tool or not, or where the need comes up, one is the price factor. Because there is obviously a budget angle that is there. The tool is going to cost something. Can I afford that cost right now? And that boils down to the base idea. If I have a product, I would want to secure it. If I'm right now in the stage where I'm trying to figure out what that product is, so the parallel example would be, if I have a house and I have 100 rupees inside a safe, do I want a Godrej safe or do I want the world's best safe, which cost 2 crore rupees? If I have 5 crores, I may want 2 crore investment. So the investment would depend on what I have. Once I have some product available, then I'll probably start going towards the things. And that's where I'll try to find out what is the easiest solution for me to implement. In terms of red teaming, the moment I say I want to do a red teaming, it's not as simple as giving someone a contract and getting them do things. The amount of damage a red teamer can actually inflict on an environment which is configured in a nice manner has immense potential of destruction. And to reach to a point where you offer someone to look into your environment, you need to have some basics done. And that's where getting a tool, getting it implemented is far easier bet. So if you want to get started, get those boilerplate stuff sorted, get those baseline clear, that's where the attack surface management comes into picture. That's where brand monitoring comes into picture. This gives you a visibility into what's happening around.
In the interest of time, one more person, one more last.
Thank you.
Maybe 2 questions.
So I have 2 questions. So the first question was about having the security awareness drills or training for security professionals themselves to understand how the phishing attacks, or like, because we usually don't focus on that part of it, we focus on the technology. So we don't focus on the human element or the phishing scenarios or the social engineering scenarios. So there, I feel that there has to be some training that is specific for those day in, day out in an organization. So insights on that, if there's anything that's implemented or something like that. Second question was that we have, I'll just finish, maybe we can. Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, let me help you on that. On what Anand previously answered, right? So it's costing and also the necessity. Okay, whether it's a luxury or it's a necessity for my company, or whether I can afford to it. That's one. And second, when companies are asking for red teaming, particularly startups, they don't have a clarity on what they are going. What is red teaming and what they can do to us, they have no clue. Okay, that's where the problem starts. And most of the times they never disclose or disclaimer, these are the areas we want to be checked or addressed. They never do. That's where the problem starts. And also the red team people also sometimes they will tell you that, but this is going to be a very serious problem for me. Sometimes they will tell you, okay, let's let you experience it. It goes in this way.
Because of that curiosity, because of the curiosity, they feel like, let me go till the extent where I won't be attacked. I can save myself.
No, it's not.
Sometimes there's also that scenarios where the pen testers have that mindset as well.
Yes. See, that's what the problem actually. See, when you are not giving us a consolidated area to audit, we have full privilege. Right, that's the problem we need to address.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We'll take your second question offline. Please don't mind. Maybe one last question in the room, please. Yeah. There are so many hands. Who is the lucky person? Yeah, closest person. Please go ahead.
So now we talked about the HR stuff where the hiring can be an issue. I don't know if you guys heard, there was a story earlier this year where a European company hired someone who turned out to be a North Korean hacker. And so I mean, with the rising geopolitical tensions, especially.
Estimate red teamer.
Yeah. So with the rising geopolitical tensions, like what's going to be the role of a CISO in this process? And how do you collaborate with HR and especially with the rise of remote work?
CISO is on fire. Okay, seriously speaking, I think he needs to collaborate with legal, HR and take a call there. Since they have done a wrong hire or maybe the BGV failed, it's part of the HR process to make sure that in most of the organizations, mid to large size organizations, there is a stringent background verification process. It's a 10-step, 12-step. They will go through the credentials, they'll go through nationality, they'll go through the social security checks, criminal checks, psychological checks, etc. So if that has failed, it's mostly coming onto the HR. But since you're asking what would be the CISO's role, right? So he has to take the responsibility in terms of making sure, one, the policy is stringent in a way that such things does not happen. There might be legal implications. So he always needs to look at how do we handle this without damaging the reputation of the organization, right? So legal has to come into the picture, and ultimately HR has to decommission, deprovision once realizing the goof up that they made. So ultimately, yes, it's a security breach. CISO will be involved, but he's not the one responsible for this to happen. There are multiple processes, so it's a process gap that needs to be fixed.
I have a slightly different view to what Diwakar said. For this case, we are very sure. We already came to know who hired whom and what exactly that person was doing. But if I would extrapolate your question, this is something about the intent of a employee. How are you going to address an insider threat? Right? Forget about this case. How are we going to address the insider, which is one of the most severe ways of damaging any organization, right? And irrespective whether you are at whatever level within an organization, if your intentions turned against the company you are working for, you will definitely make a dent. Definitely, right? We have recently seen in I think 3 days. Kirana right app. So here they said there was an attack and then said some discontented employee did something. So to I think cover these kind of things, and this is where exactly the CISO role comes into the picture, because insider threat is again something CISO has to prepare the organization against. It is not the external threats we are always focused upon. Internally also, right? Whether somebody will be fired or not, that's a separate question. But again, coming back to the basics, and I'm a strong advocate of getting the things right at the fundamental level. At the end of the day, there is some vulnerability in the system, either in the people, process, technology, whatever you say, right? There is a gap, and somebody will definitely come and exploit it. We cannot stop other persons from trying on hitting us. Absolutely. Right? And it's like, same your relationship kind of a thing. You would be getting so many offers, but it's at the end of the day, you have to say yes or no to somebody. So accountability comes on you. So you just figure out to fix your systems. Forget about how other people are trying different ways. Okay? And that's where CISO will come in, and you have all the best practices to counter these things.
And adding to that, it's not only responsible, also accountable. Who is accountable? The CISO may not be responsible for that, but he is accountable for that. So that need to be very well established in every organization. Who is responsible for what, and who is responsible for, and who is accountable for what. When that is clear in an organization, they will be more alarmed.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone. It could have been really a boring panel, but rather making it romantic only possible with you folks. Thank you so much. And my amazing panel here, we got to discuss some of these very, very remote use cases that may not be discussed in a technical panel. But thank you so much for being there and doing that for us. Thank you, my dear panel. Love you all. Thank you so much.